This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
The biggest icon in podcasting.
Welcome in, everybody, to the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast. This is episode 155. On today's episode, this high-ranking AEW executive and wrestler may be changing his name. One of the most influential wrestlers of the Attitude Era may be getting a documentary, and why Lana keeps getting put through tables. We have all of that in the news and notes section. Of course, we're going to give you a review and a prediction on what's going on with Full Gear in AEW. That's taking place this Saturday, and we will have the biggest topics and trends in wrestling. Doing it with me, as always, he's the one. He's the only. He is the Doc, John Macaroon. What's up, cuz?
Oh, yeah, baby. Always enjoy breaking down wrestling. Look, Jey Uso wants to collab and get in with Roman Reigns. Doc and Jock have been together going strong, taking over the broadcasting game since 2013. Nothing wrong with joining up with the best, and that's why I think this week of wrestling was really good. Interesting storyline developments in WWE. AEW probably delivered one of the great promos of the entire year. Can't wait to break it down with you, cuz.
Yeah, it was a pretty fantastic week in wrestling. Let's start with SmackDown. So you brought up Jey Uso. Jey Uso appears to have now fallen in line with Roman Reigns. I want to know, what have you liked about this storyline? Because I think arguably it's been one of the best in WWE. And if you really want to kind of take it back, everybody has been complaining about how Roman Reigns hadn't turned heel and Roman Reigns should be heel. Roman Reigns finally turns heel. And I think it's been the saving grace for his character. It's been one of the best transformations for his character. And now he gets Jey Uso to slide in with him. And Jey Uso has been fighting him for, almost a month and a half now. And now Jey Uso is at his side, waiting for Jimmy to slide in and for them to have their new faction. But I think one of the most fantastic things about this whole story arc is, one, the length. We always complain that we don't get enough long-term storylines. This has been brewing for a little bit of time. And I'm not talking about this month and a half. It's been going on for well beyond this. All right? So you get this awesome storyline that has taken some time to develop. And then what you get is it plays on everybody's emotions, because they're family. Like, they are family. They bring it up all the time. They are family. And it has been absolutely brutal to see the way Roman Reigns has treated Jey Uso to get him to, quote unquote, fall in line. And I think that's one of the best things about this storyline and what makes you dislike Roman Reigns so much. But at the same time, you have the sympathy for Jey Uso, who is now full-fledged heel. I think it's one of the best storylines in WWE.
Exactly. And something that we started to talk about months ago in regards to what's been ailing WWE is that you got to create new stars. In this new decade, you have established stars that are at the top. But along the way, in order to keep people's interest, you got to raise people up. And I think Jey Uso, though, is an interesting character to try and move up. Obviously, this has to be coming from Roman saying, look, this is a guy that we can build a character with and have storylines with. Because of his, issues with substances in the past, multiple arrests, him and his brother dealing with stuff. So to invest in the Usos, they've had some great matches in the tag team division, but now you're taking that bold step to move them forward into some main event stuff. And they've held their own. The wrestling matches have been good. Now, I think this, aligning with Roman Reigns and obviously getting the rub with Paul Heyman just elevates the Usos, and you could potentially go down the road of maybe one Uso and the other going at it, or they both join up. You start to have this faction. Factions in wrestling have always been a staple, and what better faction than to have than, Samoans and family members and things like that. So this is obviously being driven from Roman Reigns and from the creative department. I think that you've given the ball to Jey Uso. Let's see what he does with it. I think he has an opportunity at least to be now an established mid-card guy and a guy that can contend on a singles basis. It's no problem at all to break up the Usos because they've been together for so long.
And the thing is, Jimmy and Jey Uso are both incredibly charismatic.
Yeah.
They both are fantastic on the microphone, and they both do really good in-ring work. They are what you would consider a five-tool player in wrestling.
You got it.
they just haven't been given the opportunity or the spotlight to really shine. And I think this right now is giving both those guys. I think in the end, Jimmy's going to shine just as much as Jey, and it's giving them the spotlight that they need to really kind of hone in some of those skills and capture that audience and really elevate themselves. Now, I want to know what you thought about the Buddy Murphy, Aaliyah, Seth Rollins, Dominic, and Rey Mysterio storyline. This is something that started on Raw. All these guys got transferred over to SmackDown, so now it's on SmackDown. I don't know about you, but I was hoping when Seth Rollins went over to SmackDown, it was done. But here we are.
Exactly. And that's
Buddy Murphy and Aaliyah had this kiss, and Seth Rollins smiled in the background like he was the puppet master. I just want to know where you're at with it because I'm kind of over it.
Yeah, in my notes, I wrote this. Man, great long-term storytelling, but something I don't like. So there's a problem that when you start to go down the road of long-term storytelling, you have to kind of put something that people maybe want. And Seth Rollins is above this, so this is where I'm upset, is that creative has gone down this road with Seth Rollins to make him this all-being character and this godlike character and things like that, this beacon of morality for WWE and Raw back then. But this is I think a misappropriation, and I've said this before, I don't like the character. I think that in this sense, Seth Rollins is on the level of Shawn Michaels, charismatic, can be flamboyant. For him to be going down this serious road of whatever you want to call it with these guys, it just seems beneath them, and I'm not interested in it. It's good. It's unique, it's interesting, it's dynamic. It has the things that some people would like. For me, though, I want to see Seth Rollins at the top of the card, battling it out with the best of the best, having great matches. Him with, Rey Mysterio and Buddy Murphy entangled in all this drama is not doing it for me. I'm just ready for it to end. I'm ready for the next thing for Seth Rollins. He should be in the title picture at all times.
Yeah, I agree with you. Seth Rollins should be somebody who, if not competing for the championship, should be right there on the outside looking in and battling his way to fight for it. I don't know what we're doing with the storyline. I don't know how this is going to end. For me, when it does end, for this to be worth it, it has to be an incredible ending where you're like, oh my God, they pulled the wool over our eyes and this was crazy. There has to be some kind of a swerve. There has to be something that just kind of makes you go, okay, that was great. But I don't know if we're going to get it with this. And I'm just ready for it to be done. I don't need to see Buddy Murphy, who's almost 30 years old, making out with an 18-year-old girl on television. I don't need that. I don't think that's necessary. And poor Dominic and Rey Mysterio have to watch all this while Seth Rollins just grins in the background. Now on Raw, obviously Randy Orton is the most hunted man. He is in seemingly everybody's crosshairs. Everybody wants a chunk of Randy Orton, and why wouldn't you? He is the WWE champion. So I want to know, who do you want him to really break off and get into a feud with after Survivor Series? Because Drew McIntyre is involved in this. The Miz is involved with this because now he holds the Money in the Bank briefcase. And then, of course, you've got The Fiend, which it appears that we might be trending towards The Fiend. Maybe we end up with a three-way with Drew McIntyre and The Fiend, and maybe Miz then cashes in. So maybe you get all four. But who you get to pick. You can pick any combination of any of these three guys with Randy Orton. It can be 1-on-1. It could be 2-on-1. It could be 3-on-1. It could be however you want it. Who do you want to see Randy Orton feud with? Because everybody wants a chunk of Randy Orton right now.
Yeah, I'm kind of liking the Miz taking on Drew McIntyre. I think the natural approach is to have a long-term feud, again, to revisit with The Fiend. It's the best. I think that if you want to revisit The Fiend being the champion, you now can tie up the things that happened in the past with Randy Orton. They've had some theatrical matches that have been good. So in my mind, I think that The Fiend should be the one. But at the very least, Randy Orton should be peeking into Drew McIntyre's business, maybe costing him a match against The Miz. I think that in the end, if you want to get creative and you want to start to maybe give somebody the ultra boost to the next level, maybe you align The Miz with Randy Orton. Obviously, you got kind of a faction going on SmackDown. Could you imagine Miz and Morrison kind of working with Randy Orton as kind of this, unique faction that just handles business and takes over and says, look, we're the top, we're the best, so we deserve to be the CEOs of this brand. So that's where I'd like to see. I'd like to see The Miz kind of align himself with Randy Orton. But the natural feud, the money feud, the thing that will get you to Royal Rumble starting off 2021 with the most intrigue is Randy Orton and The Fiend, and let Drew McIntyre and Miz battle each other for the next couple months.
Yeah, I think this is the part where maybe you take Drew McIntyre and you slide him back a little bit. He doesn't need to be in this scene. Like, Drew McIntyre was a fantastic champion. Drew McIntyre has come in and he's really made his name. It's unfortunate that he became the champion when he became the champion because he didn't get to do it in front of the crowd. He didn't get that natural reaction. But I think you're right. You take Drew McIntyre, you pair him with Miz, you let them have a little bit of a storyline, a little bit of a long-term feud, and you really allow The Fiend and Randy Orton to go down this crazy, winding, twisting road where you've got this really nice, rich backstory between the two of them, going back to when you had them as a tag team, going back to the House of Horrors match, which was absolutely awful. You go back to them when Randy Orton burned down Bray Wyatt's home and was supposed to have gotten rid of Sister Abigail. You have this rich history. Lean on that. Develop that out a little bit. Flesh it out some more and really incorporate it into this new character that Bray Wyatt has created. And I think you go down this road for a long time. Like you said, it can get you to Royal Rumble. It can probably get you past Royal Rumble. And I would love to see that take place. Now, on Tuesday, we had Impact, and you always give us a fantastic Impact review. What did you like about Impact?
Really interesting this week in that there were two main highlights surrounded by really an average show. I was a little bit disappointed this week. I thought that some of the things fell flat in regards to not the matches, but the delivery of the matches. And I thought, wow, okay, maybe this was just an off week. But I do think that the things that hit well were really awesome. And I think the thing that impressed me the most is you're starting to see a champion versus champion situation. Moose addressed Rich Swann on this week's edition of Impact, and it was really good. And you're starting to see now laying the groundwork for the next pay-per-view, and Moose versus Rich Swann would be a really, really interesting and intriguing matchup. You had a match between Doc Gallows and Ethan Page, and it was okay. It was good to see the Good Brothers again. Gallows defeated Page. I thought that some of the storyline setups that Impact wanted to move forward with were interesting and intriguing. I was a little bit disappointed in the women's match. I really thought that Su Yung versus Deonna Purrazzo on television would be good, but it was kind of just used as a way to set up the next pay-per-view, and that's fine. I can understand if you want to, extend it out a little bit, but, Purrazzo defeating Young via disqualification is okay, but you got this upcoming pay-per-view called Turning Point that's going to take place on November 14th, and you want to keep that going, but I thought that match fell just a little bit short. You had some interesting and intriguing vignettes that I think people liked. Everybody seemed to be intrigued online, at least with the backstage vignette with Johnny Bravo. Everybody kind of was wondering, like, oh my God, what's going on in regards to who shot Johnny Bravo? And for those that are fans of Wrestle House, this was something behind the scenes that was interesting and brought people together. And now you got this drama of like, oh, who took out this guy? It was interesting. You had, who shot Johnny Bravo in red there. So it was interesting, intriguing, but just fell a little bit short in my mind in terms of what I like. So it didn't hit the spot for me. The other thing besides the Rich Swann and Moose angle that really caught my attention was the locker room talk with Jordan Grace and Tennille Dashwood. I thought it was really good, setting up storylines. And I just think that when you have these, shows like on WWE, like the Kevin Owens show or things like that, Miz and Morrison, they can be used to enhance storylines. And Jordan Grace and Tennille Dashwood did a great job. I was impressed. Overall, you could have skipped this week. You're starting to see the development of Turning Point, and it's going to be really good. But I just think that overall, in terms of what you saw in the ring, wasn't as great as what people would have come to expect. The other thing that people online liked was the Defeat Rohit Challenge. I think that people really liked that, and I think that you're starting to see, the expansion of a character that can do a lot more. And when Scott D'Amore starts to tap into some more of these mid-card guides and giving people in the X Division a chance, why not? So overall, you could have skipped this week's Impact. It was basically a C-plus show, but the intriguing stuff is all there, man. You got it. Moose and Rich Swann could make money. The women are starting now to kind of develop their long-term feud. But in the ring this week, a lot of things that you could have just said, nah, not really worth it. So that was my review, and I thought it was a decent top end situations that people could gravitate towards. But by and large, the work in the ring and not the best this week.
Yeah, I thought this week it almost appeared like this week took a step back for Impact.
Yeah,
it's been building and doing a really good job the last couple weeks, and then this week just kind of bottomed out a little bit. Wasn't great, and like you said, you could probably skip this week and you'll be okay. But again, really nice things coming from Impact. I just think this was a down week for them and for their programming.
Yep.
So NXT, I thought NXT put on a pretty good show this week, but I think the main thing coming out of NXT was the fact that you have what they're now being called the Kings of NXT. So this is Pat McAfee's faction. And they go into the ring and they disrupt a match. And you end up getting their motivation for why they've come together and why they're doing this and why they want to take down Undisputed Era. And Pat McAfee cuts a fantastic promo. This was probably a 15-minute promo that he cut, and the guy didn't skip a beat, didn't miss a moment, and hit on everything from calling out the fans to explaining why he put these guys together and how easy it was to put everybody together because of all of the things that Undisputed Era has done in the past, and how NXT and the heads of NXT have allowed Undisputed Era to run roughshod, and how guys like Orny Loken and Danny don't get enough attention, and how a guy like Pete Dunne gets moved to the wayside, and how Roderick Strong turned on him years ago, and how now they're coming back for their retribution, for their revenge, and how they're going to take it and they're going to dismantle Undisputed Era. I thought this was great because you couldn't figure out why these guys all came together. Like, it was cool to kind of see how this is tracking, but you didn't understand what was going on. You knew McAfee had an issue with Adam Cole because that was highly publicized. You didn't necessarily get why Danny and Orny were involved in this. And then, I don't know about you, but I totally forgot about Pete Dunne and Roderick Strong, and Roderick Strong turning on Pete Dunne. So I thought this was a fantastic move by the Kings of NXT to loop everything back around and give you a little bit of insight as to why they're doing this. On top of this, it appears that Pete Dunne is going to play the unstable, crazy character as I can't remember the guy's name, slips my mind right now. Pete Dunne they end up coming out and they break up this match, and later on, this match parts of the spill to the outside when the guys are getting back in their car, and one of the wrestlers' heads are basically in the door jamb of the car, and Pete Dunne kicks the door on this man's head, like crushing his skull. And everybody was kind of taken aback by this, like, whoa, Pete Dunne, you're a little bit too far. And Pete Dunne's like, oh, well, let's go. So, like, Pete Dunne appears to be the muscle of this group, and I absolutely love it. I think this is fantastic. I think the motivation here is really, really good, and it gives you some insight into, again, long-term storytelling. This is great. This is good stuff. This is what we've been asking for. And I think NXT, out of everybody, does it probably the best.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it's such an amazing situation to have Pat McAfee with these guys taking the pictures. It's really cool. It's really fun. It's really intriguing. I think the fact that you're seeing the vignettes, you're seeing the when they huddle up to the camera and are like, we're the best 4-man group ever. And it's fun. It's intriguing. And I like what I'm seeing all around from NXT at the top end. And look, they just keep rolling on. They keep putting on good shows. I do think, though, they might need just one more top-end star to draw attention. You're getting that nice rounded mid-card, guys that everyone's known about. Pat McAfee is that, infused talent that's fun and fresh. You need one more. But I loved it. NXT was good this week.
Yeah, I thought NXT was really, really nice. I thought AEW was absolutely fantastic. For a go-home show, I thought this was a really, really good show that helped to really put over what's going to take place this Saturday. And I thought you got to see some really fantastic matches. I thought there was a lot of good stuff in AEW this week with Full Gear coming up right on Saturday. What did you think of this go-home show?
Absolutely. If you were not going to buy the pay-per-view, once you saw that promo from Eddie Kingston going back and forth with
so good.
Jon Moxley, top 2 of the year. I think Eddie Kingston has been tapped perfectly by AEW to become a new star. He deserved it. He put in the time. He put in the grind. the energy, the passion, the back and forth. All you can ask for is for believability, an emotional investment, and something that you would watch. I would pay for that pay-per-view just for that payoff right then and there. The pay-per-view is going to be good. Intriguing stuff all the way across, but that moment, and then you got Chris Jericho on the commentary.
Oh, he was so good.
It was good to go, baby. It was worth every single minute of the 120 minutes that broadcast was on the air. AEW this week was top notch.
I want to go back to that Jon Moxley, Eddie Kingston promo. I don't know how many times, like out of the two of us, it's pretty safe to say I've been the one who's been in a lot more fights and a lot more physical altercations. But I don't know if you've ever been in a heated moment where you're trying to hold yourself back from combusting and ripping somebody's face off. But that was what Eddie Kingston portrayed. Like, I've been in that spot before where, like, I can't, like, if I just murder you right here, it's going to be bad news for me. It's going to be bad news for everybody else. And you could see that with Eddie Kingston. Eddie Kingston was bursting at the seams, and he conveyed that message and got that over. And Jon Moxley did a fantastic job acting as the antagonist, just hitting home, talking about Eddie Kingston's mom, talking about how Eddie Kingston is the root of all of his own problems. And you as a psychologist, you understand this better than just about anybody, because a lot of times people are their own problems. They just have to find somebody else to blame it on. And what you had here was Jon Moxley basically playing psychologist with Eddie Kingston, saying, no, you're the issue with all your problems. Don't be mad at me because I got to deal with WWE. Don't be mad at me because I got the AEW championship. Don't be mad at me. No, look at yourself. You know, you want to be mad at somebody, it's on you. And you could just see Eddie Kingston just getting fueled up by all of this and just ready to explode and rip Jon Moxley's face off. I thought it was so good. And it just, both of these guys did a fantastic job of hitting that nerve and touching home, at least for me, on multiple different levels with this promo. I thought it was absolutely fantastic.
Fantastic. Big fight feel. You just got that feel.
Absolutely.
That's what it is.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Something else I loved, you talked about Chris Jericho being on commentary. I thought that was great. But I am really, really interested. The thing that probably has me most invested is I want to see what's going to happen. Now, of course, we've got Hangman Page taking on Kenny Omega for the number one contender spot to then take on whoever wins between Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley. But you also have the Young Bucks and FTR. And at one point, all of these guys were in and or around the ring. And I'm interested to see what's going on with this storyline, because Hangman Page was the first guy out there for the Young Bucks as FTR almost demolished the ankle of, I think it was Matt Jackson. So I'm really interested to see what's going to happen with these guys. What is it, 6 competitors? I'm interested to see what's going to happen with these 6 guys. And again, it's 2 different matches, but I thought this was a really good way to tie everybody in. And I thought this was a really nice touch by AEW to do this.
Absolutely. I thought it was so good. I'm really intrigued. Are you excited for this pay-per-view upcoming?
Oh, dude, I have my Saturday marked out for it. Yeah. I'm so pumped for this pay-per-view. It's really weird because a lot of times we'll get these WWE pay-per-views, and I'm kind of like, yeah, I'll watch it. But no, this one, I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. Like, I've got, like, Saturday is, like, already scheduled for me. It's booked out. Like, I'm watching this.
Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait. I just can't wait to see Chris Jericho and MJF, how they play it out, because I could see it both ways. I could see Chris Jericho destroying MJF. I could see MJF getting over. I love it. I love the world title picture. I love what I'm seeing in the mid-card. All the way across the board, I thought that AEW did a fantastic job with the go-home situation. And I'm also interested in the women's, Hikaru Shida and Nyla Rose. I want to see how that's going to take place. You know, obviously Cody taking on Darby Allin. All the way across, you know, the tournament finals will take shape. So all the way across, they did a good job. They did a good enough job building intrigue and moving forward. Yeah,
solid job by you bringing up the Darby Allin and Cody Rhodes. A great promo by Cody at the very, very end of Dynamite. Basically saying, hey, I was the guy who recruited you. I was the guy who had to wrestle you so you can get your job. You know, you act like nobody wants you here, but I was the guy who wants you here. So now you've got this shot. Come and get it. I thought it was fantastic. It was a really, really good show, which leads us to our predictions. And I've got this card. Now, remember, card is always subject to change It's a very crazy COVID world. So hopefully this card doesn't change too much like last 2 weeks or 2 weeks ago, where we only had 3 out of, I think it was like 6 or 8 matches because the card changed so much. But we're going to have the buy-in, the kickoff show. It's going to be the NWA Women's World Championship. It's going to be Serena Deeb, who is the champion, versus Allison Kay. Serena Deeb has been on Dark a couple times as well as on Dynamite. Who do you have winning this one?
Ooh, man, that's a tough one to start it off, huh? I think Serena Deeb deserves, she's had a good run. I don't think Allison Kay just ready just yet to take over the NWA Women's World Championship. So I'm sticking with Serena Deeb.
I'm going to go with Serena Deeb as well. Just became champion not too long ago. I don't see her dropping the belt anytime soon. AEW World Championship. Now, this is an I Quit match. This is between Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston. So we've got to pick a winner, but I'm going to tell you how I think how this might play out. What you might end up getting here is you might get Eddie Kingston passing out and them just calling it a match and him not actually saying I quit, but him just not being able to physically continue. That's how I could see this match playing out. All that being said, I'm going to go with Jon Moxley to retain just because I can see a better storyline with Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega or Jon Moxley and Hangman Page down the road.
Absolutely. What you got to do is, number one goal, elevate Eddie even further. Make him a bona fide number one that you can put him in with other AEW stars, maybe even the likes of Chris Jericho, maybe even into that inner circle, maybe getting that push to the title. So in my opinion, Jon Moxley makes Eddie Kingston say, I quit.
AEW's Women's World Championship. Now you've got Shida, who's the champion, taking on Nyla Rose, who will have Vicky Guerrero in her corner. I'm going to go with Nyla Rose on this.
Yeah, you see, I think the addition of Vicky Guerrero makes it intriguing. I have the same thing. Nyla Rose takes the title.
All right, we've got the AEW TNT Championship. We've got Cody, who is the champion, with Arn Anderson in his corner, taking on Darby Allin. How do you see this one playing out?
Champ returns. Cody Rhodes with his tease with his new signature title. I think that Cody's going to take it down. It should be a good matchup.
See, this is really difficult for me because Darby Allin has lost so many high-profile matches. How does one guy keep losing so many high-profile matches and keeps finding himself in so many high-profile matches? At some point, he's got to break through, right? I mean, we've talked about this months ago. So I want to lean towards Darby Allin winning, but I just think Cody Rhodes retains because he just came back and got his belt back. So I don't know why you would take it off him, and he looks like he's in fantastic shape right now. Now you've got the AEW World Tag Team Championship. So you've got FTR, who's the reigning champs with Tully Blanchard, versus the Young Bucks. If the Bucks lose this match, similar to Cody Rhodes and the AEW Championship, they will never challenge for the tag titles again because of that stipulation. I'm going to go Young Bucks.
Yeah, you have to. I think that the Young Bucks aren't ready for singles action yet. I don't think that's time for that. So I think that, let's see, if the Young Bucks lose, so maybe there could be a swerve, obviously, where they can get the victory by having someone interfere against them, maybe in some backhanded, weird, shady way. But yeah, I have the Young Bucks winning as well.
All right. We've got the tournament finale. It's going to be Kenny Omega versus Hangman Page. Again, the winner receives a future AEW World title shot. Who do you think wins this one?
This one's tough because...
This is tough. This might be the one where we go opposite of each other.
Yeah. See, everyone in their mom assumes it's going to be Kenny Omega, but I think it's time to unleash Hangman Page. So I think Kenny Omega is the star by himself. So I think it's going to be Hangman Page.
It's weird because I'm in lockstep with you. I thought we were going to go opposite of each other.
It just doesn't make sense because Kenny Omega hasn't been pushed yet. So what gives us reason to believe he's going to get pushed now? It'd be weird. I think that maybe you can unleash Kenny Omega as the heel if he loses and then take that next step. But it just seems like Hangman's the young guy that needs that. He needs it more.
No, I agree with you 100%. And you could almost see he's been so well introduced to the AEW viewing audience that now would make perfect sense if there needs to be somebody to take that title off of Jon Moxley, because Jon Moxley's had it forever and a day now. I don't know if Eddie Kingston's that guy. So you have Moxley win this match, and then you have Hangman challenge him later on, and Hangman ends up beating him in a grueling match. And look, I think you get the rub and you get the shine off of a guy like Kenny Omega, and you get the shine off of a guy like Jon Moxley. And I think that solidifies you as the new AEW champion. And the sky's the limit for this guy. You know, I mean, he's going to be a champion at some point. It's just, when does it happen? We've got the Elite Deletion. So Matt Hardy versus Sammy Guevara. This looks like this is going to be another one of a Matt Hardy production, which is always a fantastic match. It's always a fantastic setup. I want to say Matt Hardy wins this.
You do?
But Sammy Guevara looks so damn good. Sammy Guevara looks so damn good on Dynamite. And it just makes sense for Matt Hardy to put over a guy like Sammy Guevara. Does Sammy Guevara beat Matt Hardy at his own game?
No.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either. I got Matt Hardy winning this one.
This is weird because we've been basically in lockstep with each other all the way through this whole thing. All right, Chris Jericho versus MJF. If MJF wins, he gets to join the Inner Circle. Who do you think wins this one?
See, this one's interesting because of the fact that, do you really want to put MJF in a faction and kind of get absorbed and have some of his shine taken away? I think no. I think that the proper thing to do is to have Chris Jericho win this feud, especially after losing a couple matches. So I got Chris Jericho on this one. So
this is how I can see this one playing out. Because you have this building heat between MJF and Wardlow. I could see Chris Jericho cutting some backdoor deal with Wardlow, where Wardlow turns on MJF the same way MJF turned on Cody Rhodes.
Shady.
Yeah. And Wardlow gets involved in the Inner Circle while MJF then goes on by himself.
That's smart.
Now, it's whether or not the referee sees Wardlow get involved. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yep, exactly.
So, man, I'm going to go, and just to be different, I'm going to go MJF via disqualification. So Wardlow gets involved, the ref sees it, Chris Jericho's disqualified, MJF ends up getting the victory, but in the end, he really loses.
Gotcha.
Orange Cassidy versus John Silver. I think we both have Orange Cassidy winning this one.
No doubt.
All right. So really quickly, just to recount. Orange Cassidy, John Silver, we both have Orange Cassidy. You've got Chris Jericho winning. I've got MJF winning via disqualification. We both have Matt Hardy beating Sammy Guevara. We both have Hangman Page defeating Kenny Omega. We both have the Young Bucks defeating FTR and becoming the new tag team champs. We both have Cody Rhodes defeating Darby Allin to retain his TNT championship. We both have Nyla Rose becoming the new women's champion. We both have Jon Moxley making Eddie Kingston say, "I quit," or retaining his belt. We both have Serena Deeb retaining her NWA Women's Championship. So it looks like it's going to be a great card. Looks like it's going to be a great pay-per-view. At this point, you have a 5-point lead on me, 10.5 to 5.5. Again, the only thing that's going to kind of sway this is going to be that Chris Jericho MJF match. So we'll see what happens there.
All right, cuz, great pay-per-view ahead. And now we get a chance to recap this week's professional wrestling news and notes. What caught your attention?
So the real reason WWE is repeatedly putting Raw star Lana through the announcers table, which seems like every single week has been revealed. I think this week marks 7 times she's been tossed through a table. Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer Radio said that WWE believes this is getting sympathy on Lana, and every time she gets put through a table, she's getting more and more over as a babyface. The original thought was this was some kind of punishment for Rusev, who is now Miro in AEW, leaving WWE. After his match with Jey Uso, Daniel Bryan was taken to a hospital where he had multiple imaging tests done. There, it was revealed that he has a bruised kidney, as well as multiple strains and contusions throughout his thoracic and lumbar spine. Bryan may be out for a few weeks, so we're going to have to watch that. Former AEW and Impact Wrestling star Kylie Rae has announced she has decided to stop wrestling for a while, also taking some time away from social media. She posted, "Good morning. I'm truly sorry for the pain I've caused and the miscommunication. I'm currently unwell. I'm also sorry that I wasn't able to get this out before your monthly subscription charge. I want to take the time to say I'm no longer a professional wrestler and I'm currently taking a break from social media. It's been a very hard decision to make, but please understand, when I'm well, I will try to fulfill any obligations that I have missed. During that time, most tiers will not be able to be fulfilled. Please feel free to unsubscribe from this membership/Patreon account. Thank you for understanding." Ray had been scheduled to face Deonna Purrazzo for the Impact Knockouts Championship at Bound for Glory, but that match was pulled from the match at the last minute because Kylie Rae did not show up for that. So it sounds like she needs a little bit of mental health, and it looks like she's taking that time to get that. As of Saturday, AEW had 84 remaining tickets out of its 925 tickets that were put aside for Full Gear. Remember, Full Gear, usually just about everything that AEW does sells out instantly. So 925 is obviously a lot less than the 5,500 capacity that Daily's Place can hold. But again, because of the COVID distancing restrictions. Now, before the pandemic happened, tickets for AEW pay-per-views would sell out within hours, sometimes even within minutes. Meltzer said that under normal circumstances, the card would have sold out the 12,000 tickets easily. But some speculation for the reason that the tickets are selling so slow is because the Jacksonville market is a little bit burnt out because AEW has been running so many shows at Daily's Place pretty much every week now for the last couple months that people are just kind of checked out on it. So it's no longer this major attraction there. WWE is working in collaborations with a producer from The Last Dance to release a documentary on the Hall of Famer Stone Cold Steve Austin. The former ring announcer Lillian Garcia said on the Chris Van Vliet show that WWE has contacted her about being interviewed by Jake Rogel, who helped put together the 10-part dossier on Michael Jordan and the 1997-98 Chicago Bulls team. The Stone Cold broadcast was slated for 2021's release, and Garcia confirmed it by saying she expects the project to be out next year. So look for that. That should be fantastic. And finally, Cody Rhodes, a.k.a. Cody, has confirmed that he can once again go by his full name of Cody Rhodes. WWE filed to cancel its trademark application for Cody Rhodes on Tuesday, meaning Cody can now use his legal name legally. Weird, I know. And that's it for this week's wrestling news and notes.
Make sure to follow Adam on Twitter at AdamRSTROZ. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast on Twitter. Make sure that if you agree or disagree, if our predictions are way off, let us know. And anywhere that you listen to your favorite podcast, the way to subscribe is easy. Just type in 3 words, Detroit Sports Podcast, and when you hit subscribe, our daily content finds you. Each and every day, we provide good audio content covering the world of Detroit sports and beyond. We have a good time with it, going strong since 2013. Thanks for your guys' great support. And if you like what you're hearing, head on over to iTunes and leave a 5-star review. We greatly appreciate it. This was a great podcast. Can't wait for these pay-per-views. Can't wait to see how these angles pay themselves off across all these great brands. Thanks, cuz. Let's talk again next week and review what the heck happened on this great pay-per-view for AEW.
Look forward to it, brother. Be good.